News Radio 700 WLW.
Well, they're going up again. Gas prices are on the rise. And why? Well, not minutes into his administration, Joe Biden declared war on the fossil fuel industry. That started the parade. Now, the other countries that produce energy are not stupid. They may be a lot of things, but they're not stupid. And so OPEC is meeting right now, OPEC Plus, as they're called, because you throw Russia into that mix. And they realize that this administration doesn't want to use a natural resource that it has under its feet, that it has to go and buy that natural resource because of ideology now in our country. It has to go and buy it from other places. It would be akin to, like, I don't know, Macy's not stocking pants. They're not going to stock men's pants anymore. And so if they're not going to make men's pants, they have a war against men's pants, but they know that men need pants. At least the rational ones do. Some want to run around with no clothes on. That's their business. And so to stock those pants in their store, when they will not make the pants themselves, they have to go buy them someplace else, and they will pay more for it because they have to import those pants. That's what's going on with the oil industry. Excuse the analogy, but that's basically what's going on with the oil industry. And so OPEC Plus is meeting today. And at the end of the day, they will cut production. They will cut it because they want to increase demand, and demand means price goes up. Okay? You don't have a lot of something, the demand for it is still there, price goes up. And they're going to cut production somewhere between 1.5 million and 2 million barrels of oil a day. Now, this country consumes a hell of a lot more than that. We've already tapped into our national reserve. We're tapped out. But again, we won't drill because it runs countercurrent to the ideology of this current administration. And right now, prices at the pump are up, up, up. AAA today, average price for a gallon of gasoline in the state of Ohio, $3.90. In Indiana, $4.17. In Kentucky, a little bit better, $3.43. Can you find gasoline at isolated places less than that? Yes, you can. These are average prices. So we've kind of walked right down this path, you and I and everybody else in this country together. We had a regime change in January 21, and here we are. Now the question becomes, how bad is it going to get? Standing by is somebody that knows the gas industry inside out. In fact, we have had Jay Young on this show many times because he just gets it. He is with King Operating Company. It's a major gas and petroleum company in the great state of Texas. And Jay joins us right now here on 700 WLW. Jay, how are you on this glorious Wednesday?
I'm very good, Ken, and thanks for having me on again. It's so good to hear your voice. And I'll tell you, I mean, either you taught me really well or I taught you. I'm not sure which one. We're on the same page with everything. Man, your bullets on OPEC, strategic reserves, which we need to talk about. We need to talk about a lot of these different items. I mean, it's going to be doom and gloom if all you do is go to work and you go to the pump and you have nothing to do with the oil industry and that doesn't supply your job or generate jobs for you. It's going to be ugly in the coming months, and I'm afraid maybe even a couple of years from now.
Yeah, well, let's for those of us that aren't in the audience of a certain age, we are right back where we were in the late 70s, mid to late 70s, when we were going hat in hand to the Saudis, begging them for oil. Then all of a sudden, we had people that understood that one of the great resources this country has is under our feet, and we don't have to go begging to any country for anything. We have oil underneath our ground. And so during the Trump administration, we drilled, and gas prices came down. But now we have ideology not intersecting with reality, and we have what we have right now. Gasoline prices are up, on average, about 63 cents a gallon year to year. And Jay, you and I have visited enough about this that it's not like today a light bulb could go off over Joe Biden's head. Imagine that image. And he'd say, okay, we're going in an opposite direction and we're going to drill again. Even if he could put up with the extreme left side of his party. You just can't turn on the spigot. We're talking at least 9 months, probably a year, if they made the change today before we would see any kind of relief at the pump. Am I right?
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. And because the money is dried up, and there's just no drilling, and companies are taking that money and they're putting it in different options. Normally, when you have the best solution for high oil prices is high oil prices, because when you're an oil and gas company and there's prospects out there that you could drill, and they make money at $30, $40, so you don't really drill those if prices are down. So when they go to 70, 80, 90, then you bring them out of the drawer and you start drilling them. And so that literally puts a lot of supply on the market, because normally the solution for high oil prices is high oil prices.
Yeah.
But today they're not doing that. So you're right. You don't turn on a spigot. You're losing 1 million barrels a day pretty soon with strategic reserves when it dries up before the election, which is just a ploy, in my opinion, of keeping these gas prices down for the election in November. Because remember, Trump during those times, he was exporting oil because we had plenty in the United States. He was filling our strategic reserves with cheap oil, and we were going high, $2, $2.25 at the pump, and we don't have that now. And it will take so much time and effort and money and everybody being on the same page. And there's no way you're going to get everybody on the same page to start drilling for oil in the United States. That's why prices are going to continue to go high.
Yeah. Last I checked, barrel of WTI, West Texas International, was about $87 a barrel. It's been as high as about $130 a barrel. It's been a lot lower than that as well. So it's not like the price in this country is going through the roof. This is strictly an international incident that is going to drive the price of gasoline up, and there's absolutely zero reason for it. Now, Jay, as we know, the United States, and Biden in particular, because he was there last summer, he went hat in hand to the Saudis and basically begged them to increase production. Now, if I'm the Saudis, and I know I don't have a lot going on for me. I don't grow crops. I got a lot of sand. I got some livestock, but I don't have a lot of livestock. But I got a lot of oil. That's one thing I got is a lot of oil. I'm not going to have some guy come to me who's got oil himself that he doesn't want to use, beg me to increase production, and me say, oh, sure, let's just drill some more and we'll give you some cheap oil. No, they're not going to do that. They're in,
why give it away at cheaper prices? Why give more away at cheaper prices? Doesn't make sense.
Right. Yeah. As reprehensible as that government may be, they're not stupid. They know what they got. Right.
Exactly. And the oil markets around the world are so tight. It's 100 million barrels a day in the world, and there's nobody that has, an enormous amount of oil that they're just producing right now. I mean, look at OPEC. They were going to increase few months ago 3.5 million barrels a day. They couldn't even reach it. They said, okay, we're going to increase OPEC plus 3.5. They only got to like 2 million barrels a day or something. They couldn't do it. So when we're going back here pretty soon and we're trying to replenish our strategic reserve, hundreds of millions of barrels, it just doesn't grow on trees. Nobody's sitting on 100 million barrels or 200 million barrels overseas or anywhere in the world that we can just go and they have a for sale sign on it that nobody has that kind of oil. It's so sensitive, and that's exactly the reason why oil prices have come down in the last 2-3 months, is because of that strategic reserve and that 1 million barrels a day that Biden's put on the market to falsely accuse production numbers so high.
Yeah.
And when they take that away, they're going to go, whoa, wait a minute, where's that extra 1 million barrels? Oh, okay, well, we don't have it. Okay, well, then, obviously supply and demand is going to bring your prices back up, and it's going to do that for a long period of time because we don't have the oil. We're not drilling for oil, and I know I've mentioned this several times. The federal government, the state governments, the public companies aren't drilling. They're making billions of dollars a quarter. You'll see it pretty soon coming out. The numbers will come out, and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, Exxon made $6 billion last quarter, or the first quarter they made $6 billion. They spent $10 billion buying back their stock. Instead of doing what they normally do, which is putting rigs to work and drilling more oil. They didn't increase their rig count at all. Yeah. Neither is Pioneer, neither is Devon, neither is a lot of other companies, because they just don't. And I've talked to these public company CEOs or people in the C-suites, and I'm saying, hey, are you guys increasing your rig count? And they go, no, we're not. And I said, well, this is the oil business. You love the oil business. Why not? And they said, our board won't let us increase our rig count. They want us to stay where we are and just kind of keep producing it. We're making money. And I said, I know, but this is where you put your profits back in the ground. I know, but hey, our board tells us not to, so we just do what we do.
Jay Young
so we're not producing.
Jay Young is our guest, fourth generation oil and gas pro. He's got a book out, The Upside of Oil and Gas Investing. Might be a good time to do that because it sounds like if you're looking to make some money, energy in this country, I think, is going to become hot again, but not in the immediate future, but it's going to be hot again. You talked about the reserve. Yeah. Everybody talks about, well, Biden is tapping into the reserve. And you're right, it was a cheap stunt just to get the price down 3 or 4 cents on the gallon. The strategic reserve is not meant for that. It is meant for when this country is in time of peril, when it's under attack or it's fighting a war or it's trying to keep things going in a time of stress, not to bring prices down at the pump. And worse, he's taking what you referred to earlier as cheap gas that was cheap oil that was purchased when Trump was in office, when the price of a barrel of oil was low, and he's got to replace it at a price of a barrel of oil that is infinitely higher than when Trump was in office. So right away, you're adding to the national debt by doing that. And secondly, you're tapping into something for what it was never intended for. Am I right here?
Right. Absolutely. 100%. We don't produce enough oil and gas in the United States ourselves. So we need 20 million, well, probably 22 million, but let's just say 20 million barrels a day. That's how much our appetite is, and what George Bush used to call our addiction to oil is 20 million barrels a day for what we need. And that's not just for gasoline and cars. I mean, a lot of different products we need oil for, so it's not just cars. So electric cars aren't the answer, but we need 20 million barrels a day. We're only producing 12 and a half right now. Yeah. So the 7.5 million barrel deficit we get from Canada and Mexico and some countries that we have good relationships with, things of that nature. But if you go down to 10 million barrels, or let's just say we're at war and we can't get import any oil at all. And so what are we going to do to the price of oil? Well, we need 7.5 million barrels coming in every day from other places. And if we can't get it because Biden, remember the Keystone Pipeline from Canada?
Yep.
That would have been a good solution for 2 million barrels a day.
Yep.
But we can't get it. And if we can't get it, it's just going to go sky high.
Well, it's out now. OPEC Plus has cut oil production by 2 million barrels per day. So, Jay, knowing that, here as we sit on this date breaking this news, 2 million barrels per day, tell me what you think of the price of a gallon of unleaded gasoline would be on average for this country in 2 weeks.
It'll be up 50 cents, if not 75 cents. Now's the time to look at if you're let's just say you like the stock market. I like Ring Energy. I don't own it. I own the stock. I'm not on the board. It's $2.50, 60 cents. I bought it $2. I bought it $3. I love the stock. It's a good oil and gas producer. Hey, if you want to go do $100,000 or $200,000, $300,000, read my book. If all you have is a couple $1,000, put it in Ring Energy. I don't have any. Like I said, I'm not on the board. It doesn't matter. You can't Twitter me, and I can't go to jail because I'm trying to talk about the stock again. But just any stock, do it, because if you can't, right now you're going to see oil prices starting to go up, and we don't have the oil in the United States. The world doesn't have it. It's so tight. The world oil supply is so tight. You're going to see prices go up, and when it does, it's just going to be ugly. And if you can't beat them, join them. Buy a stock. Comstock, Devon Energy, Exxon. There's a lot of great stocks out there, but now's the time to do it. So my book, Upside of Oil and Gas Investing, is on Apple. It's on Amazon. It's on whatever. Buy it and just read, learn. And like I said, we need oil in the United States, and we're not replenishing what we have. We're not drilling for oil in the United States.
Right.
Wells decline every day. We need 2,000 new wells to be drilled in the Permian Basin every year.
Right.
Because of the decline.
To keep the radical wing of a political party happy. This is what we have stumbled into once again. Jay, I got to go. Thanks for the info. Right. You can find Jay at kingoperating.com. And again, his book is The Upside of Oil and Gas Investing. Thank you, Jay. Stay well. We need to hear your voice.
Absolutely. Thanks again. Anytime.